All right. Happy New Year, everyone. It's Andrew Bennett here, TWC, and let's uh let's get in these charts. These charts are interesting. I was trying to get into this yesterday. I apologize, and now at this point, I'm upset with myself for not creating a video yesterday when I was having some. I was really actually thinking, to be seriously honest here, that we were going to have some more downfall. I didn't know how much. Did think that there was something coming though, and now uh, within the next 12, 16 hours or so. I mean, the day's not over yet. It's definitely showing some very significant price drop, and there's there's a lot of talk on Twitter, obviously, or X, and there's a lot of emotions going through right now, trying to understand what's going to happen next. How bad is it going to be? And at the end of the day, it's just a pullback, right? It's just a pullback. Now, the pullback could be a little bit larger than we might think it might be. I don't know. I feel like there's going to be some farther pullback. I have been talking in these videos I've done, six or seven of them now, or maybe a little more. I can't remember exactly. And I've been talking about a pullback in January, and this is why. This is why it's starting to confirm my thoughts on where we felt more topped than anticipated, maybe, but it's not top, right? Not blow off top. That's not happening. This 2025 should be very strong still, but it did make sense for some profits to come off the table. It was a really good October, really good November, and about a halfway good December, and then we really just got some lower prices and some pretty strong chop and a couple bounces and maybe some dollar made, maybe some money was made at the end of this December, but really had to get out of it because now it's really starting to kind of start more of a downtrend. And that this makes sense. It was a really good end of the year, starting in the year. Um, you know, it appeared that way, and it's really happening. So, but not everything is falling. For example, STEM, right? STEM has been fantastic, but it's really been right after Christmas. And so when everything is kind of a lot of stuff has been kind of dropping for the most part. STEM has really been shooting up, maybe overall. And that's great. We love that. We're obviously in the trade and we're still in the trade. I haven't even taken any profit off this yet because I still think there's some more upside. And I'll be honest, that might just sit on this for a while. I mean, I don't see why. I don't know. Unless I see some significant thoughts of it really dropping down and making a lower low. Right now, it's actually made a higher high from this. So let's just jump into it now. Welcome, by the way, if you're new. And there was a range here that from previous in May of last year that it had sat in for a while, all of the summertime. And so I had a couple of tops there. You can see a wick. So I knew that there was going to be some resistance there. And then from there, it really dropped. It actually pretty massive gap drop to go into August. Well, here we are, fast forward, and we just broke right through that resistance, but we wicked it, but we made a higher high there. Okay. So this was a technical lower low, and now we made a higher high from this top here. Okay. So this was the up, the down into this accumulation or distribution range, kind of made a top there and then jumped down. And then so there's some bottoms here that ran into that as somewhat support, but really broke down. So we're not out of the woods, of course, but we're looking great. Obviously, I mean, first of all, how could you not be upset about 30 or whatever? If you're in this, you got in, we were talking about 35, 40 cents. Maybe even you got in at 40 something cents. It's fine. Or you got in maybe at the break of this wedge in orange, you know, which would have been approximately 37, 40 cents. I mean, it went up to $1.67. Okay, that's a remarkable jump. That's a altcoin crypto type jump, and this is a stock. And yesterday's candle was definitely top heavy because it went into this, you know, resistance, but it broke it and made a higher high. So that's great. Great. You know, I really love this. I do. There's a couple different ways of looking at this, so I don't want to I don't want to go over all these explanations on what I think is happening right now currently, but there's a thought that this is actually done. And so I just pulled some fibs from the bottom to top. The 0.5 level right now is at 70 cents. I don't even know if it gets that low. I really don't. That's why I don't think all right, let me back up a little bit. I don't think we are actually 5 up. I don't. There's a thought that this is a 1, 2, 3, working on a 4 and still a 5. That's why I have this other orange here, because I think we could see one more leg up and actually get into this resistance here. And that would be, just so I can throw some dollar numbers at you, at $2.26. That would be just beyond the R5 on the pivots on the daily. We didn't even hit the R4. We almost got to it. We passed the R3. Usually when we see this kind of price action, we like to see R4, R5 hit. It did not hit yet. And so it might still be working on that. I don't know. Right now, it's a little bit tricky to read. This is the daily. If I zoomed all the way into the hourly, there's some thoughts that this is maybe a rising wedge with a throwover. I got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then this was a flat ABC. So that's how I was able to get this 1618, because this definitely looks like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, and then we could have one more up here to kill a wave 3. So it really needs to figure out what's happening in this range here. There's some support, a little bit of support resistance going on. It's really just ranging right now, which is kind of it. I mean, I hate using bullish and bearish words, but it's bullish, kind of in my opinion, because you would have thought that it had this really strong wick that it just started crashing down because everyone was selling. But what it's gone is it went into, you know, people did sell, of course, and maybe they're trying to short, but it's going into a possible range. And that's saying that prices kind of fighting each other maybe, and that, you know, maybe there's some more upside to that. If you just look at pivots just for a second, here, I'm going to go to 4 hour. So if you look at just pivots on the hourly, it went up to R2, but really didn't close below R1. So this could be looked at as like an R1 to pivot type of price action. And this looks like a 1, 2, 3, especially with the candle volume. So if this was a 1, 2, this is a 1, 2, 3, we should have a 4, then 5 for 3 still. And then we'll have a for 3, and then a 4, and then a stronger 4, and then one more for 5. So there still could be some wave action here happening. RSI is extremely high, of course, and it's starting to curl down. But that doesn't mean that it can't curl down and then find some support and kind of come back up and stay in that area for a little while. I've seen price actually maintain its range, but RSI starts to drop. So right now it's a sit on my hands kind of moment. If it does drop down to this green, there's a chance that I might even add to the bag, okay? Because I'm really thinking this a little bit more long term. I want to see what happens this year with STEM. You know, if this is just a 1 and we got a 2 pullback, right? Well, what's 3 going to look like? I mean, at the worst case, you could say this is corrective ABC. So, you know, there's still going to be some upside, in my opinion, for sure, even if it's just corrective. Because this was basically just a wham, like straight up. So, you know, I didn't take any profit. I'm still sitting right I'm at in my long, which is down here in the 30s range. And I want to see what's going to happen here. Is it going to hold up on the pivot and bounce and find one more leg up? Is it going to come down to S1? I don't know. You know, is it just going to range for a little bit and see what our RSI does? It's fine. I just going to just let it do its thing. So, yeah, but that 225 range, it seems to be a nice area for like a top of the wave, in my opinion, for right now. So I'm still thinking there's some more action going up at the moment. That could completely change. All right, TGT, here we go. This has been the Elliott wave in this one is so good with the 5 up, the ABC, and then I've been talking about my targets on the local 1212. So I'm at the 1 hour, right? So I'm really zooming in here because I'm looking for that 1-2 on wave 3. And I think we about found it. Okay. So we got the 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we have a wave 5 leading diagonal for a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And look at that nice wick candle there to kind of close out what I think is wave 5 of 5. And then it really shot down there. And so I pulled fibs from there to where C is at, because I think this is all wave 1. And I'm looking for a 0.5 pullback or to this pivot at $136. Okay. I don't know if I like the pivot because I think it's going to take a while. It's going to go into another week. So I'm just using the fibs right now. So I'm just going to leave the 0.5 there. That's at 135, but we're talking dollars here at this point. Is it really going to be that much of a big deal? I don't think so. But it's going to basically, what I'm looking for is to come back into this cluster of wave 4 and wave 5. Wave 4 ends actually at the 618, which is 133. And just below that is this nice green support area, which that's right. I really like that green support. I forgot about this. I really like this green support because it found it as resistance in the gap here. And then it found it as support, and it kind of really shot down. It's really actually shot up or down through this green on these 1 hour candles. So that's going to be telling if price really does start to want to come down here into these more institutional levels. We really want to find that as support and a bounce, like a really strong bounce. I don't want to shoot down through there because then I'm going to start thinking, well, maybe my count is off. I don't think my count is off, though. I really like my count here. I do. This is one of those ones where as you start to learn Elliott Wave and you use it and you identify these, how you build confidence is how you are identifying these counts and how they're working out to where you're almost predicting them. That's your confidence builder in price action, essentially, right? So TGT, I've talked about it a lot, but I've been really talking about it since, down in these areas, and we had this one pullback. So, if you've been following me on these videos, you would know, like, I've been in TGT for a little bit because I'm building more and more confidence in it, which will help me invest into it, and not just with a couple bucks in investment. I'm talking like substantial investments because I really feel that it has good chance to move up. Nothing is guaranteed, of course. So, there's no crystal ball or wondering if this is going to automatically go up. There's no way to identify that perfectly. But my confidence level is very strong with TGT. At this point, I believe that we're at a 1-2-1-2. I'm looking for the pullback back into this. I'm going to say 133. Or look, I even go to this. Well, 133 even from 135. Okay, it's a nice little range. All right. At the end of the day, the overall scope of TGT is much higher. Okay, because this is a overall big 1-2. This is just a 1-2. This is going to get us a 3. If we're working on that 3 already, which we should have a pullback here, right? Actually, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3 should come back up to about, you know, 1. Here, let me just do this real quick. I was trying to go fast today because I have a lot to look at. Look, 3 puts us way up here. I actually didn't think it was going to be that high. So it actually, 3 has us breaking out of this channel, which is awesome. And 161 and then 170. So those are some nice targets, right? 170 from where it's at. You got to love that. You can't be upset about that. But that would just be the wave 1 of the larger wave 3. From there, we'd pull back to, you know, 150 range, and then it really takes off. So I'm hoping at one point in life in the future, we're looking at this like, oh, yeah, I remember we got into this area. And, you know, I was just like, you know, that was way, you know, down here, and we're looking at much higher. So overall, there's a lot to look forward to in this. And I'm looking at this daily right now, and I'm really also noticing that it makes sense too. Gosh, this also makes sense here. Check this out. So why is pivot so important? Because they're good guidelines. The daily hit the R1 and has found resistance, and it's pushing it down below that. And what did I say my pullback level was? 133. Well, guess where the daily pivot is? 133. Awesome. Look where this green support band is. That's where I was talking about earlier. That's at 132. So that would make sense for, you know, a pullback and then a wick. That should be a very quick bounce, according to what I'm seeing. Okay. If it's going to break down below this dotted EQ line, it's probably going to wick down it and then come back up again. So that should be fast. So what that's telling me is that where we might see some, we're already seeing it now, but you might see some like low price action and then good buying possibilities coming up in the market, like a good pullback by the dip scenario. Okay, I don't think we're crashing down. I think it's just we're gonna have. There's probably gonna be something that comes out maybe in the news or whatever. You know, I know that there's some Fed meetings a little bit later in the month, so I don't know how long this kind of takes, but ultimately, now this could kind of just grind out a little bit. Now that I think about it, could maybe grind. Either way, though, that 133 level area, whatever you want to call it, is where I would like to go long. Okay, so I'm kind of giving you guys a heads up on that. All right, MRNA. Boy, was this looking great, and I said it in the video from December 30th. This looks like a good opportunity to go long at that time, and sure enough, since then, there's the 30th. So price was right around 139.40 bucks, maybe. I'll zoom in a little bit more so you guys can see it. Since then, it's gone up. It's been great. It's gone up, you know, almost 10 bucks. You know, 23, 24%. If I had long that, I would have been awesome and happy right now. I did not, you know, because I really kind of found it and really hadn't dove into it too much. I don't like to just find something and be like, oh, that looks great, and then just throw a bunch of money into it. I like to actually, you know, do some diving into and looking at the trends and making sure, you know, is this just an ABC, right? We don't want this to be corrected, but I'll tell you this. First of all, there's a nice fair value gap right here that it's filling in this orange. Okay, so that makes sense. The 50 MA, it really broke out of that. It really punched through the pivot into the R1, and then it filled this gap. So what would be really great is that, because this looks like a 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, it really actually could possibly, we could see this keep going. All right, we really could. Because here, let me just kind of get more in the weeds here. I don't remember if I talked about this. I'll just quickly say that I had this as a 1, 2, 3. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then an A, B, C. I mean, that was great. I wish I mean, I just sometimes I get busy, or I'm looking at 1,000 different charts, and then I didn't really think about this being done right on here. So this looks like a 1, 2, and then maybe a flat ABC. I don't know what this is. It's kind of hard to tell, but 1, 2 here, then 1, 2, 3. See how the candle really just shoots off right here? This is obviously the 3 of 3, so this is like a 1, 2, 3, and then we're probably getting a 4 and then a 5. Because what we're looking for, just like TGT, is a 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, so because this was 1, right around here. Here, let me just do something here. Hopefully that helps. Because this is a 1 here where my cursor's at, and then we had the 2, we want to look for a 1, 2, like another 1, 2, okay? A smaller one. But we're getting really good like price action. Like look at this. This came down and wicked right in this green. That is extremely bullish, because that might have been 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 2, and then we got 1, 2, 3. So this actually could keep rolling. And at this point, it's at R3. It could get to R5 on the hourly. There's the 200 MA kind of creeping up there. There's a nice, there's some, there looks to be some support resistance right around there, which is the $52 range. So that would be maybe where we kind of top out a little bit. Anyway, right now it's just trying to find a pullback at this point. We don't want to just jump in when, like right now, I think things are hot. So you're really kind of being, it's a little bit risky, because this could like pull back and fill more of this candle out a little bit. You don't want to jump in, when it's too hot. But you also, you're probably going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm missing all these other gains. So this is where it gets difficult in trading. You got to either be really patient or be very, like, you need to be really watching your price action, okay? Because you can get kind of fooled up in FOMO. So 1, 2, BC, 5. See, this was probably like 1, 2. This is the start of 3 here. Sorry, there was some disconnect there. The 3 was the burst through here, and then we're kind of finishing that up. So, and RSIs are really high on the hourly. So although this looks really good, it might like creep up to this R4, R5, and then it might come kind of maybe coming down kind of quickly. It's very difficult to understand what's happening here, but this action here sucks. This looks like a reaccumulation though, so. See, this is yeah, I think it's got some room up. It's probably got some more room up here. It really does look to be that way. Gosh, I really don't want to spend too much time on this, because there's just a lot to get to. Yeah, see, it's getting to the, so this was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5. Yeah, gosh, it can really get up in the 50s here without a real, probably without a real strong pullback. Yeah. It looks like we're just working the 3 of the 1, 2. So this is 1, 2, and then we're going to have a 1, 2. So the 1's going to be higher, obviously, than this previous one. because this was the 1-2 here. It's difficult to figure this one out right now. And when that's the case, and if you're learning, or you're understanding Elliott wave, and you're trying to dissect pricing, if it's confusing, or if you're having a difficult time, kind of zoom out a little bit and look for what's easier to identify. This 1-2 right there for sure. So it looks like we're still in the 3. So yeah, this is probably getting into the $50 range. It's probably going to meet its way into this little cluster, because there's another fair value gap here. Oh, is that the one I pointed out? Yeah, I feel like I might. Yeah, man, it's looking good. It's looking good. They want to find what this can pull back to. Yeah. See, another thing that's happening too is we're starting to possibly see what could be support as a retest down the road with this green line I just highlighted here. Okay. Because you had these wicks, you had this kind of stoppage here, although it does kind of go into that. The $45 range seems to be a nice break point. Like, we broke through that. That's why I think we're getting this real strong candle, because we broke through some previous resistance points with these wicks. So that could be retested, and then that might just be it on this. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys one more thing here, and I'm going to bounce out of this. Minimum expected wave 3. So, all right, I think this is 1, 2. We would expect 3 to be about right here at 59, 60 bucks, and then it would pull back. Depending on this cluster here, probably just pull back to about 50, and then probably end up coming to about $65. That's like minimum numbers. Yeah, because there's this here too. That's probably where wave 3 is going to end up at. Is probably that one. So we'll probably see some extensions. I don't know. MRNA looks great. At the end of the day, it looks really good. Well, here's an interesting thought. Okay, so this is why we're seeing. Ooh, that's interesting. Okay, so here's why we're seeing the possibility of some resistance, because the 1-to-1 is at $49.63, which would be filling this fair value gap completely, and that's about where we're at. So people might think like this is just an ABC, and that could be the case. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's not. And it would kind of identify this weird price action going into this. So this is why, another reason why, you'd be very cautious on entering right now, because if this is just like a correctional wave up, and we still have waves down to still go, that's something to think about and to be considering. So, you just don't want to see drop below like $37 from right here. Okay. If it starts dropping down below $37, like this S1, if it like hits the S1, and then maybe back to the pivot, and then it starts to get resistance there, then we're probably looking at downside. So right now we're going to use the pivots. We're going to see how it closes today, which is about 13 minutes. Then we got aftermarket work. So we'll look at this tomorrow and the next day and the rest of the week. If it starts to kind of keep climbing You know, another resistance point is the $53, which I was kind of talking about earlier. So maybe that would be where we would see this wave one finish, and then they come back down for two. Just out of curiosity, let's look at that. Some of you guys are probably wondering, like, what the heck is he talking about? Yeah. I like this to be a pullback. So if I get to R3, the 0.5 pullback is into the green. Because I like that green. I do. I like that green level of $46. I like that area. And would be really cool if it really started popping off, but I don't think it's going to get that high. So we'll see. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4. Yeah, I can see that. So I can see the R3 on the daily happening, the $56. So that would be like a 1, 2, 1, 2, and then we get crazy long. So that's kind of my thought right now. So I'm you know, sitting my hands on this one. I'm bummed that it didn't get in when I said, because that would have been so great on the 30. That's $39 because that's even below the pivot at this point. So anyway, it is what it is, right? But we're gonna find entries because, you know, it's not gonna just go to the moon on its own without pulling back at all. It's gonna find some. Trust me, there's resistance here. You know, there's quite a bit of resistance here. So, anyway, that's kind of my thought there. MicroStrategy, MSTR. What do we want to talk about? MicroStrategy. Oh, the 4-hour. So wedge within a wedge. This was a great wedge. This dotted orange wedge. That was awesome to see that. Broke out of that real nice, and then it went all the way up, even to the R2. And everyone was, I even saw some people talk about this wedge being broke on X, and I was even thinking like, ooh, there we go. But nope, it got denied. And I'll tell you right now, I'm not a fan of false breakouts because it tells me that I'm wrong somewhere. Okay, because that should have been like, let's keep going. Right? If this was a true wedge is going to go like in and out of a wedge. It's not a wedge. This was a wedge. That was perfect. But that doesn't mean that this is also a wedge. Okay. So right now I'm very hesitant on why we saw some resistance in this previous range here. That was distribution. And you see how I normally like to see us go back into that range and like hang out there and then pop out of there, or even go through it and then back into it. Right now we went into it and actually got denied out of it, and we broke down from it. So that isn't exactly great. And it could be the fact that, you know, there's probably maybe some more downside. I don't know how much downside there's going to be. That's hard to say at this point. But when I zoom into the hour, I'm hopeful because I do think this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I think there's 5 waves up, and now we're doing a pullback. So you got the 1, 2, and then we're looking like we're still working on some action here. So this could kind of bleed a little bit. Pardon me. I want to make sure. This could keep bleeding a little bit more here. Hopefully you guys can see that. Using the pivots, using fib pulling back on the fibs. 0.5 is just above the hourly pivot, but you know, I wouldn't be surprised if this actually made it to the S1, maybe towards the end of the week. I don't know. It's hard to really say what's happening here, but this really strongly just kind of went back down again, and it really didn't do us any good with it being more of a false break on this larger wedge. And check this out. This didn't make it to the R1. It was short on the daily, and it immediately came back down, and it's actually about to close unless this wicks up here in the next 8 minutes or so, it's about to close below the pivot. So we have to actually consider that this is actually a 1, 2, 3 A, and this is a B, and there's still a C to go. All right, and that's going to lead me into some crypto here in a minute, but I don't think we're out of the woods. I don't think we're done with the correction, the larger correction, the correction that started, that I've been talking about January, February. I don't think we're done, and it sucks because it creates. Well, first of all, it's going to create probably a longer wait, a longer time to get back into us like moving back up again. Meaning, like we might not see it till February, March. I don't know. That's still unseen, but if we start to really break down here some more, and then we start thinking about this S1, right, which is fine, but then what's it going to do? Well, there's I remember there's that gap that it started filling, but that also bounced from that green. So that's support where it was resistance support here. If we break through it, will that become resistance? You see how like time could, take where it comes through it and then it's resistance and it's coming back down, and then what's it doing, right? So it's about to close below the pivot. It's really not finding any support right now. It's trying to, but it's not. The 50 MA, it broke above it, and now it's trying to go back below it. I don't like that. I don't like breaking up on the 50 MA and then breaking back down again like the next day or very quickly. That's not normally a good sign. That usually means we're still going down, or we're ranging for a while or whatever. So there's a little bit of uncertainty about what's happening here. Okay. So right now we're just kind of being patient. I'm not like saying short MicroStrategy. Definitely wouldn't say that right now. But I'm not saying that I'm going long either. Okay, I'm not. Definitely wouldn't go long right now. I would want to see some more. I would want to see tomorrow's candle like just be above the pivot like the whole time. Maybe a wick, but then just full candle being above the pivot and then close again above the pivot. Then that would be like, okay, that was probably just a pullback, and then that was a 1-2, and now we're going to shoot for a 3, because that could be the case. If it holds up here, we get another a good green candle above the pivot. It could be like, all right, here we go, and then it starts to shoot up, and then it'd be like, oh, okay, maybe it is time to long. So, but to see this struggling with the pivot right now, it's going to make this week important. Okay. Speaking of weekly. I did notice that the weekly on a lot of coins and stocks are really close to where price action is at now. And, I don't know how I feel about that just yet. Okay. The S1 is way down there, $41. My gosh, could you imagine? That would really obviously say that there's something that's happening. Because that would be really bad. That would show that this was probably a top. But, this was getting closer and closer to a top, in my opinion, on the weekly. So I don't know if I have input on this just yet. Okay. This was a triangle 4 right here. I know Chris has talked about that too. So, I know I have the 3 here, but I don't necessarily think that's 3 just yet. I just have it there as a reference. But if this was 4, and there's a chance that we could see back to the R1 and then back down, and then we see some ranging here, and then probably has come back down here. So I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about the macro look on MicroStrategy yet. Okay, I'll just be honest with you guys. It's different to look at something on a weekly than it is on an hourly. I'll tell you that. It's much different. Okay. Bitcoin. Here's that zoom out and chill chart that I've been sharing for quite a while, and it's the 3-day chart that's in the channel. and it's flirting with the EQ again. It's been flirting with it for a while. It went below it, and then a nice engulfing 3-day close, and another one after that. But this is not what you want to see after this. You don't, now this is a 3-day candle, so it's only been through the first day of the 3 days. Okay, so I'm not trying to cause a little bit of panic here, but it really shot down. It's engulfing this one, and it's like trying to not only that, but break the pivot, but it's also even trying to test that EQ again within the first day of the 3-day candle. So what we want to see now is the next day or two to show that there's support there. Okay. If this wicks up really strong, then that should be go time. If it keeps breaking down, this is probably an A, B, and we're still waiting on a C. Okay. Now, right now we have this as a flat ABC, but this is starting to look more and more like it could be the B. I don't know. I'm not there yet. And I know Chris isn't there yet either. But I'm sure we're going to have some discussion about today's daily candle. Because although we were looking for a pullback, I don't think we were definitely not looking for it that large. So it does make you start to think, what else is happening? So here is that daily candle, Coinbase chart. And, it's got 3 hours left to close, so it hasn't closed yet. So jumping to conclusions or assuming that this is going to close below it would be wrong. But I'll tell you right now, it does not look good right now, considering that the day is almost done. Okay. But if this was a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then it's okay that it comes back, but it needs to finish soon. Okay. Right. So it's okay to still be bullish here, because you're like, oh, that's just a 1, 2. All right, yeah, that's fine. This is a 1, 2, but it needs to kind of this is early in the month still. Okay, so these pivots are important, right? And as you can see here, okay, we kind of worked. It was like a struggle to get above the pivot number 1. Remember, I told you if they're struggling, then there's something there. But it held wick, and then really strong boom. But then, not only did it just blast through all these wicks that it struggled with, and that seemed to be support, it just crushed it. 50 EMA is that red. So clearly a lot of shorts came in. It did not make it to the R1, which I didn't like either. I didn't like that it wasn't hitting the R1, because as I was coming down, ooh, that's not looking good. It looks like it's coming to the pivot. And I didn't like how it didn't touch the R1. I wanted to go either close or touch the R1 at least, because then we can say R1 to the pivot and then continue. But right now, I'm looking at this as, something's weird here on the count. I'm questioning the count now, and I don't like that feeling. And I don't like the feeling because I was thinking, upside, and we should start looking at more downside. And if we're looking at more downside, well, then what is the downside, right? Is this just an A, B, C, and then a B, and then we're looking for a C still? Then what is this? This is not. That means that this is not a flat, right? So breaking down this here at 91,284 or two, that's gonna be telling us that this has got there's something wrong here, because we should not obviously be breaking down from the 0 point from the 1, 2. Okay. So anyway, let's see what happens. Right now it's hitting this EQ of this range. There's a lot of support there, obviously. And anything can happen tomorrow. We could see another green candle just come right back up again. That would be awesome. And everyone just starts to be, changing their minds, like myself. The 4 hour, I know I got a ton of lines on here. You guys are probably, whoa. You know, I'm really focusing on levels of support and resistance. So that's why I have the orange and the green. When I have orange resistance areas, that means that, well, it's resistance, obviously. I'll change the colors for myself just to kind of, you know, kind of keep me in mind on what's coming up. We have a nice, very nice, strong support here at 94,800 range. That's a really good, strong support. But right now we're actually holding up at the current hourly pivot, which is also great, okay? But I will tell you this real big, large orange, that was a really strong previous resistance that we broke out. That was like, to me, I was feeling really good about that. And we just shot right through, back through that. I do not like that. This was an area where I wanted to see get above, and we did, and then we shot right back down again, you know, within a day. So that's, you know, that I don't like that. I don't like that at all. You know, it was not what I was thinking. I was thinking that, you know, we were going to go a little bit higher, then we were going to kind of bounce. We were eventually going to probably retest it and then jump from it. But sure enough, we just sliced right through it. The S1 is at 93,000. So that's an interesting level if we also lose that. But again, it's going to, if we get to the S1, that means we have to break down this support one too, this other green support. I don't like that either. See, I don't like breaking down support lines. Okay. So those are just going to be battles to get back up again, right? Especially here locally. You know, it was a battle to get. Look, we saw the bounce here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Finally, we got up, and then boom, right back down again. So all that work to really be, you know, what does that tell us? You know, it tells us that, you know, maybe this was a higher, you know, lower high, possibly, this area. You know, this was the local top, and maybe this is a potential lower high. Okay, right here. All right, so we got the one over here, and we got the one right here. I don't know. You know what you could do when we have these like dramatic drops is you could create a channel from that. And here's what I mean by that. I'll go on the daily. So this, and pull it down here. Okay. So when I do that, well, here, let me change the color. When I do that, I want to see how the EQ looks, and the EQ looks actually pretty good. As you can see, it's been hitting it, and then it closed above it, and then it shot back through, and there's some wicks, and there's wicks here. So this might be a channel, a downward channel, meaning that this was just like the start of it, and we're going to probably come back down again. What's cool about the channel is, first of all, it's a good guide to use, because what it also does is identifies what the future might be in pricing. Meaning, if this were to really break down, and this is a possible channel, I say possible channel, right? Where could I find some support at what around time? Well, I'll tell you right now that there's the S1 on the daily and the bottom of the channel right around Saturday the 11th. Okay, Saturday the 11th, or even Sunday. Okay, so like the rest of this week could be more downside. Okay, that's just a theory. It's just a thought. That doesn't. I'm not telling you guys that's what's going to happen, but that could be the case. It could also take a little bit more into the next week, right? Because it could always go a little bit past the S1. So it could, you know, what could happen here? Gosh, I'm taking too much time on this. But what could happen is it could come down here, and then we're gonna, right now what it's doing, and it's if it's bearish or it's wants to come down, it's gonna probably try to retest the pivot, and it's gonna find it as as resistance. And then it's going to look at this EQ and it's going to bounce around a little bit, right? Do something like this. And then eventually it might just kind of plow through everything on a really big candle. Okay, then it's going to touch that EQ again. This is why I say it's going to be a little while. Okay, something like that. Okay, so that's kind of what we could see. If we're seeing this channel and we're seeing how price is working through the channel and how we have our supports and what have you and our pivots, this is kind of how that would look, because this is an AAVE. We want to see like an ABC, B, and we get the ABC, the large final dip here. That's how, if we start seeing downside, we could see this type of action, if this is actually even in the channel. But normally when we see you know, this kind of reaction where it goes up and down, that's kind of a good area for a top of the channel, of the downward channel. It's a good place to place it. Normally it's a wick or something like that, or an engulfing candle, like kind of like how this was a large wick here. That would be like the bottom of the channel there. So it's just a starting point. I'm going to probably leave this up and just kind of see how this works through. If we come back up tomorrow and close above the pivot, then my downside idea is, you know, is most likely actually fading away. But with the real strong engulfing candle and also potentially closing below the pivot, then, you know, that's just where I'm at. You know, I'm trying to be you know, either, you know, one way or the other. I'm not trying to just think one-sided mind here and just think always up. Ethereum really lost a lot of support. I actually had a trade in this and I got out of it. I hate the fact that it went up through here and then it was growing and there was some good potential gains there, and then it just dropped. As it started dropping, I actually got out of the trade with minimal damage, you know, done to it before even the stop loss. It would have actually went below the stop loss, even below that, because I had that in this green. And as you can see, where this was good green support here, right? We broke through that. I thought that was going to be a support area because of these wicks. It literally just blasted right through that on the way down. So what's okay with that is the fact that if we start to come back up again here and start finding more support, we could just blast right through that again up. So that's not terrible. Right now we found ourselves back into this cluster. Okay, and this is kind of the line in the sand for support. If we really start breaking down below the cluster, then we're probably really breaking down to lower low from this low, in my opinion. All right, because this is where a lot of the support is, and if we lose that, then that's probably going to turn into be resistance, in my guess. Because look how many, this whole area here was really nice support. So this green here is very strong in my opinion. So it needs to hold. Okay, if we end up getting that low. Now, right now, it jumped into the S1 and now it's trying to close. This is the 4 hour. It's trying to close above the S1. But it's going to be immediately followed up with, this is now also orange. So that's not good. Okay, if it's not good, meaning if you're thinking that you're going long, be very, very hesitant here. There's even there's actually a scenario here where you would short this because of, see how it was tapping it a lot and then it broke through, then it retested it and then blasted off. Well, if it starts tapping it again, that's probably a short possibility, because if it goes above that, then you know, okay, I was wrong on the short. But you really need to get above it. If you're trying to go long, you really are kind of doing it, maybe in my opinion, a little bit too early right now to go long right here. Even though we're at the S1, I would be very hesitant to go long right now. I'm telling you right now, I'm not going long right now. Let's be honest. I wanted to see get above this and then maybe come back and find it as support again, so I could turn this thing back to green. I like to turn this back to green first before I start going long. Right now it's resistance. Okay. So this dip right here just shattered everything. And then now it makes it kind of feel like this was maybe all corrective. Okay, that's now the narrative is now starting to change a little bit. So that's Ethereum. Just going to the daily, I mean, look, you know, the daily's not closed yet. It still has 2.5 hours left, but man, what a bad candle if you're thinking that this is going up right now. Because see how this one broke through and shattered? That's what you want to see. You want to see something like break through the resistance support. But since it shattered back down, I don't want to see it. It needs to actually, it's probably going to, if it's going to go back up, it's going to probably shatter back up again. So it's going to really drive everyone kind of crazy. But, you know, right now I am really just, gosh, I was really feeling good about Ethereum, which is, it's interesting. You know, I really thought actually we would see Ethereum have a good, you know, January. But right now, at the moment, it's ooh. Sorry about that. Goodness gracious. It's funny, I got a new mouse and it does weird things sometimes. It's like I bought a smart mouse. You know, it's smarter than me. All right. So, but yeah. Oh, I wanted to say one last thing for Ethereum. See how we went into this area where we broke through with some strong candles to get through this orange. We just tapped it, and that makes sense that it was resistance. I did not expect it to drop like this, obviously, but it did feel like that was going to be a strong resistance point that we wanted to continue to sharp through. That's why I was thinking of going long. That's why I went long here, because I was thinking since we have broken above this pivot in this area, and we're going to continue, we're going to have another sharp here. And then I think my target was the R1 at 3,900. And that was like where I was going to take some profit. So I was really feeling good about this and thinking that we would actually see a strong continue of this week of Ethereum. But boy, did it really just go the opposite direction. So now you have to wonder, is this, you know, A, B, and then we still got a C, right? You have to think that at this point, with this kind of candle you do, you know, it's not great. All right, I'm just going to run through some quick alts. We had some requests. AAVE was one of them. I had AAVE as a AAVE wave 4 triangle, but now I have to question that because we appear to have gone down, well, right at the C. Okay, well, I guess technically it's still good, but it really does not look good. This was actually green for me at one point, and that was nice support, but see, it just shot through that, you know, and it was hanging up here. This was obviously, by the way, this was, I thought this was distribution too. I was starting to think like this looks more like distribution to me. That was, and now it looks like we're, see, okay, this is the hourly struggling with the S1. All right, I'm telling you guys right now, we start seeing struggles of the S1 right now, and it's only Tuesday. We could see some movement here. I'm gonna say, because this candle was, everyone, like a lot of people came in and bought on this candle, right? And that's why we saw some strong. But you know, coming back into that again, are we going to get very similar movement? Or are we going to get where a lot of longs maybe are going to get liquidated and really shoot this down? All right, can really shoot this down to, I mean, who knows what. So AAVE right now is a strong hold for me. But I will say this, it could turn into a short for me. Okay, I'm trying to make money either way. Okay, so I'm either going to make money long or make money shorting. If I'm trying to short though, it's very quick. I'm not like shorting to this thing to go for the next year, obviously. I'm shorting for some quick scalping, right? So if we find that this is now becoming resistance, where this cluster of candles are, you know, that could be a short down to like, you know, down to this area, low area here, or maybe even farther. What could happen too is this range here on the orange is then becomes resistance here. So it comes up and it finds resistance where I thought we would have support, and that could be a short too. It could even go all the way back up to the pivot, right? Depending on how this reacts, right? And that could be even a possible short, scalp short. But right now it's just hovering under the S1. So, you know, who knows what's going to happen here? You know, is this going to continue to fall? It could very well be. Now, I will say RSIs, on the other hand, are oversold area. So we got regular RSI below. We got things that are kind of like really low. Okay, so when things look bad, are they looking bad in our indicators, right? And right now they look like bottoming areas. Okay, bottoming areas. So, you know, could we see this bounce from here and start to move its way up back to the pivot and see RSI moving up? You know, that could be the case. So I'm not doing anything right now. I'm just kind of seeing what happens. Just because it goes into, you know, the oversold range doesn't mean it has to just now go up. It could go up a little bit and then come back into the oversold, and that could really bring price down again. So that, and it happens a lot. You know, you'll see that quite a bit. If I were to count this as here, I would say this is like a 1, 2. This is probably a 3. So if we get a 4, then a 5. So, you know, another area to maybe watch would be possibly this area, but at that point, I'm looking at S2. There wasn't a lot of volume that came in on those candles. They're kind of lower volume candles, so, you know, I'm not sure how much I feel about those ones. I don't know how strong those are. We'll see. But right now, I'm really watching this. It didn't technically get the low, so I think, you know, you could say that this ABCDE is still intact. But, you know, you don't want to normally see it go like all the way to the end. That's not a good sign. So that's AAVE. Man, this mouse sucks. So this is good. The AAVE is holding up here because of the daily pivot. Sometimes I forgot to look at the daily pivots on a couple of these, and that's solid. So that's a good spot. So like I was telling you, like it could kind of start to move up because the RSIs are low. Well, you know, this isn't a bad spot to look at it in that case. And you could say, okay, am I going to long here and then throw a stop loss maybe just under the pivot? You could do that. You know, before you could have used these candles, but because it's matching up with them, it's really not a whole lot there. So maybe let's see how the day closes out. But if this holds up, which it looks like it wants to hold up above the pivot there, that would be pretty nice, actually. It's not terrible. This still looks like it could be I mean, I guess maybe this could be A, B, C. Maybe it's a more extended triangle. I don't know. So AAVE is still in question, I guess, when I look at the daily. The hourly, though, it looks like it's struggling. So shorter term, it does look like it's struggling. On the daily macro term, it looks like it's kind of nice. A lot of talk about some new meme coins, and this one that's AI16Z. It's got a lot of attention, and I like to look at those, the ones that have a lot of attention, because there's usually good price movement in them, and you can trade them really nice. So I've been watching it here on the 4-hour and the 1-hour, and I did a little, you know, little scalp trade just to see kind of price action, and it was some decent movement. So that tells me I'm more interested in not. This definitely looked like a 3. So we got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kind of look, and this looks like an A, B, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that was a C. So this area that it's in right now is actually really interesting because this could be a 1, 2. Okay. Because it had the A, B flat here, see how it almost came up right to where it's ended, right? It doesn't have to hit the 382. Here's the 382 right here in this cluster. If it does come down, it's going to probably shoot back up again, but I'm curious to where it's at right now on this one, because this could be an AB, because it looked like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then a 1, 2, 3 to kind of finish up this 1, 2. So, and the RSIs look okay on the 4 hour. On the 1 hour, we want to see some volume kind of, okay, so we got this like just these stairs going down, and volumes kind of have some spikes, but it's pretty low. Well, I guess it's all right. But see how we're starting to find some support around these 705 level, and this also where I highlighted the green right near the pivot. Those are all good levels here, okay? Because this was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So maybe it was like a 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2. They were like working in threes. This looks like an A, B, C. So an A, B, C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This looks like it's bottoming right here, okay? So what we like to see on this meme coin, I couldn't really find too many. I traded on Phoenix, but Gate IO had the more volume on it. It looks like it's starting to find some nice support here. Okay, the 1 hour is really low on everything, and we're starting to see some curl on the indicators. So I want to see if I can get a nice 5 waves up, maybe back to this orange, and then a 2, and then I could go long on that. Okay, so maybe we are finding some support. Maybe going back to AAVE, how I was saying this needs to kind of get above there, and not really feeling this right now. This could actually start working its way up. So maybe we actually could see more of a local bounce, maybe. But right now on this one, this looks pretty nice. So we got a nice volume came in. I like to see how this one kind of closes out in another 26 minutes and see how that works out. So you guys might see me throw a trade in on this one. I'll try to keep you guys updated on it. But I do like price action on this. I like these meme coins because they move a little bit faster, and I like that. You obviously can lose on them too, so you got to be careful. But yeah, we'll see what happens here. PEPE. Okay, so PEPE, I'm going to tell everybody this. I almost called it short last night. Right before I was going to sleep on PEPE, I looked at, I was looking at my phone, and I noticed this rising wedge, and it was going right. It was last night, so the daily had already started for the new day today. So I saw this doji below the pivot, and then it was this next candle was below the pivot still, and I'm like, there's a rising wedge here. I almost took a short on this last night. I wish I did, and I was gonna post it, but I was just tired and I want to jump on my computer and go through all this. And sure enough, it really dropped down. And this kind of goes with my thought process of are we going to see more downside for a while for January still? Okay, because this might be an A, B, and it's still working on a C here. Okay. There's even thoughts that this might be a flat A, B, C, but I don't think that's the case. I think we can get 5 out of this. Is kind of choppy. But right now I'm really focusing on this here and seeing what's happening. This was basically a decline from the pivot, got declined, and now it fell out of this wedge. I'll show you guys something real quick. Remember I talked about kind of tricking your eyes and inverting the scale. Well, sure enough, what would you do if we were here? Well, I'll tell you right now. I might even look at this as a potential range here, right? Okay, so there's possibly a range here, and it's coming down to the EQ, and it's holding up on the pivot, and there was a wedge, and it's breaking out of the wedge. I mean, would you not say that this doesn't look bullish? Right? I know it's inverted, so it's bearish, but if I was looking at this and I saw this on PEPE, I'd be like, all right, I'm going long right here. So I should be able, I should also look at it like I should be going short right here. So I want to see what happens with where it's at now, because this is a range. It's kind of hitting the top of the range again. So could it come back down again? That is a possibility. Okay, that is very much a possibility, because in redistribution, you're going to have this, kind of like down and then up, and it kind of fakes out, and then it keeps coming down. So that's where you would look at this. So right now, I'm not shorting right now at all. Okay, I'm going to put this back into regular scale. I would not short it from here because it's hitting like this bottom of the range. I guess you could put the range here. Maybe it's right there. I look at this way. It might be more like that. So yeah, see that EQ is the decline then right there at the EQ. So either one, the EQ is about the same spot. But yeah, it's really about how it's breaking down from this wedge, and this daily pivot is where I'm looking at. But I'm not shorting right here. Okay. If anything, maybe looking to see if it comes back up a little bit, maybe zooming in. But right now, I'm kind of hanging tight. I don't like shorting, obviously, when everything is going up. That's ultimately okay. To be honest with you guys. So if I'm gonna short, I'm gonna really find a good, like the last night, that would have been a good short. Right now, it's not a good short. So just 20 hours later or whatever makes a big difference. If I zoomed in a little bit, you can see that it's getting close to the S1. So we should see some support here pretty soon. A nice little cluster of candles there. So we'll see what happens. Someone asked about Filecoin, FIL, and I just want to say that File is the most choppiest macro range out of the major coins, right? The top 50, whatever. It's just been in this range forever, and it's really frustrating. I think that it's a leading diagonal, like a 1, 2, 3, 4, and then working on a 5. But it's really right now, if we just were to look at the daily, we need to get over the pivot, because right now it looks like an ABC. Okay. One, two, three, 1, 2, 3, 1. You know what I mean? 1, 2, 3 to the S1. That's what it looks like right now. I don't have any confidence in this going up right now at the moment. I have more confidence in it going down. But this green area that it's seeing, that's also support. So we need to know what's happening here. And by just kind of going in and going long here is probably not the right way to go. I mean, you do what you got to do. But I'll tell you right now, I am not feeling this right now. And I'll tell you right now, there was some support resistance here. And it appears that we're breaking down from that, which is also bad if you're bullish, or if you're, because you wanted that to hold up here, and it's not. There looks to be another one here, so don't get me wrong, it's not just going to fall, free fall, probably not. It also has that too, locally. So I will say that. But this was an important line to break, and it broke, and now it's coming back down again. I just don't like those. Normally, when I see that, I think of it just being a B, okay, like an A, B, C, or a 1, 2, 3 for a B, okay? And we still have C to go. Okay, now C to go could just be to this orange dotted line. I don't know. I don't want it to go lower than the S1, because that changes almost everything. This is a massive range, by the way. Massive range. I mean, could it just jump right back into there again? Sure. and it's just going to really kind of, it's going to go right back into that again. I mean, that would just be rough to watch. I don't know. But right now there's, there's some supports and resistances being broken again. And the daily pivot did not open in the alts benefit in most cases. I've noticed that the pivot was pretty high and we were just right at it. I wanted to kind of be like an XRP, which I'll go to next. The daily pivot is actually in a better spot. Oh no, now it's not. Oh, well, see, there you go. It's actually hitting the daily pivot now. So it's holding up right at the daily pivot. Okay. By the way, there's a fair value gap right here at the S1. Just a heads up. But if that were to play out, that's $1.65. Okay. I'll tell you right now, that's probably a nice bounce area if this thing really drops. If we start seeing like really, things starting to tank, we're getting 10%. Like right now we're seeing 10% down. If we start seeing that continuously through the week, we're gonna look at prices down here. Yeah, this fair value gap. I don't know if those fibs are perfect or not, but the fair value is at the S1. So that's a nice target. That's one. I noticed that on XRP daily. It still could be in a triangle too. Don't get me wrong. This triangle actually looks pretty strong, even at this 50 MA. I'm just gonna do something here. Bounce back and bounce up again. I mean, that would complete the triangle right now, in my opinion. That would be awesome. I really want to emphasize that I'm not bearish right now. I'm just I'm just thinking. I think that we got upside to go for sure. I think the 2025 is going to be great still, but the lead into 2025, there's bleeding for sure. And I've been saying that. I feel like there's some corrections coming and there's some downside coming. So we're holding up in this green here. This green is really strong. It's been good, like ton of it. So it's a green support. It needs to stay above this pivot though, and this is the 8 hour. If I go to the 4, the 4 will show a little bit more support. This area right here where it had a ascending triangle, there's a lot of support there, a lot. So if this were to come down to, let's say that the hourly S1 at $2.09, that's probably a really nice long position or spot there to set up. Not financial advice, just for myself, but that would be a great place for me to put a spot there to buy if we lose this pivot and we lose this other green support. Right now the support is holding, so I'm kind of looking ahead of the carriage before the horse, is what they say. So right now we're here. Okay, so this could be E up here still. Okay, that's fine. It's not a big deal. We've done the ABC. All right. So if we get above this, we start seeing some nice price action above the pivot, then I'm thinking reversing. Okay, RSIs look like they still have some room to go down though on the 4 hour. Okay, RSIs look like they have some room to go down. I will say that. Okay, so just wanting to see what's going to happen here. We're going to get to the S1 at 209, 210, or we're going to hang tight around here at the current price at $2.28. That's still a little bit unseen. If I had to give an educated guess here, I'm thinking that we're coming down to here, ultimately. Okay, that's my educated guess. All right, ACHR was requested, and I never had this charted, so I had to kind of start from scratch. I could see why they think, gosh, I apologize. This might have been stats that asked this. I don't remember. I think he's thinking that this was a 1, 2, 3, and this was a long forward, and it's working on a 5, which is, you know, a strong possibility. The only thing that throws me off there, though, is that all this volume is coming in here, and this looks more like the 3. Okay, look at the volume difference. This looks more like the 3. So if this was the 3, volume is pretty low. Let me try something else though. Okay, so now can I just look at this only? You can see how like volume was really kicking off at the top here, and then see how volume's coming up here real strong here. And then there's this really big one here, and then one last push up. So what I'm kind of thinking on this one, and I didn't dive too much into this, sorry, but I'm thinking that this is 1, 2, and you can actually get a 3 and 4, 5 inside of this. So it's like a 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5 with the 3, and then 4, and then you got this choppy 5 to finish, because it does get to the 2 level, and then this is actually a 2. So this is actually a 1, 2. Okay, I know that doesn't look pretty, but that is a really long. This would be a really long 4 if that was the case. Like if this was 1, 2, and 3, this was 4. That's like the longest 4 ever. That was August 23rd to October 24. I mean, it's over a year of a wave 4. I don't think so. I just don't see it, especially because of the volume. When you compare the volumes here to here, this more looks like the 1, 2, and then we're working on the 3 here. Okay. I also saw this too on the regular daily. The first one was the 3-day, but here looking at the daily, this actually looks like it was a leading diagonal. So we have this 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 to finish. So that's where we can get maybe a leading diagonal there. Hopefully you can see that in orange. Okay. So that would be how this could all be a 5-wave up. Okay. So that's something to consider. This is how I lean and how I look at this chart, is that it's 1, 2. All right. So when we look at the weekly on it, you know, I know it looks like this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? It does look like that, but you know, with the volume, it doesn't. The volume doesn't match up to me. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, and then we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for 1 again, and then we should have a pullback. So, and because it's close to the R1 here, we're probably going to inch our way up to it, and then probably break down. Okay. It also makes sense too, because like a 1, 2, 1, 2 sometimes leads to that 1 of 1, if you were to pull it on that, but we're not doing that right now. So, or this is maybe like an ABC 1, 2, and then an ABC 3, 4, which would really drive you nuts. These are wave 3s, or these are 3 waves. So, but I think I got the 4 in here. I got the 5 up here. I could see it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I could see it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, it looks pretty nice. So I think there's a 3 and a 4 and a 5 here, honestly. But look how it's getting close to the R1 on the new weekly pivots. So keep that in mind. So maybe a pullback to the pivot before it launches back up for future, for more upside. There's a nice, I thought I had this drawn out, but I'll draw it again. There's a nice support resistance area right here. But that would be all the way back to the S1. So that would be quite a fall from here for a 2. I don't know. I don't know if I'm on board with that. If it goes to pivot, that's 5. That's back down here to $6.13. So I guess maybe it could. It could. Yeah, so I'd be hesitant on going in where it's at now. I think you could see some pullbacks. It's getting right back to this area too, where it started. This is probably one of those IPOs that were in 21, where they all went up, came back down again, and then finally fell off. So it's right back to where it started, really the $10 range, $11. So Yeah, we'll get that. That's where I'm at on that. Okay, hopefully that helps. There was another request for RSR, and I really like, this is the weekly. I like this green support that it broke and it retested. So that's pretty solid. But I will say that this does look like a 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're working on a 5 here. And so where it wicked out, look at the volume where it wicked. Okay, it's the most volume it's ever had on the weekly. I mean, according to the Binance, I don't know if it's how old this is. So that's, I'll tell you this, as far as, you know, is it going to keep going up? That tells me that it's probably not for a while. Okay, because that could be ABC, ABC, ABC. Okay, 1, 2, 3, A, B, C. This could be correctional. And I'll tell you this too. If I were to pull fibs from this lower here to here, that's a 1-to-1 level. So I'm very hesitant right now on seeing this actually go much higher. And see how the weekly pivot, it literally put it right here. Okay, it's putting it right where price is at. And, you know, just not a fan of it right now. So the S1 is way down here. The S1 is like a lower, like an all-time low. So I don't know if it's going to that or not, to be quite honest with you. But I would look for, you know, if this was a 1, 2, 3, 4. See, it looks like it's only got, you know, it's hard for me to say that this is done because this looks like a 1, 2, 3, and it's working on a 4 here, and then this is like the rest of it. So I don't know. I would just wait to see what's happening with this weekly pivot, or if it comes back to this green, like for one more drop. So this is like an ABC, maybe. It's hard to say right now, to be quite honest. Okay, I'm just a little bit hesitant to say, you know, whether to go long or go not. Look at the daily pivot. Look at the reaction it's had here. Okay. Now I will say this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, you know, that does look like 5 up. So that's kind of nice. So the 5 level would be back to where wave 4 kind of finishes off at 0.012827. But again, I just don't like where pivots are at on dailies right now. That's the only thing that really bothers me, you know, because look at that. It really fell off of this pivot here. So, you know, is this just correctional waves here? You know, it looks 5 up though, so it shouldn't be, but I mean, it could be like ABC 1, 2, and then 3. So that could be the count. Yeah, I'm just, you know, it's the pivot for me, guys, ultimately. Like, we went back to the 618 level. That's typically where you would think like a B would go, you know. You got to think about it in reverse. Like, this is a 1, 2. You know, you'd want it to go to the 0.5, 0.618 level, right? So I'm going to tell everybody this. Yeah, there is support here though. So if you were if this was your request and you're looking at this one, you do have some support here. You have support at 0.012, basically 123. There is some support there. Okay, so that is where, you know, you could have a 1, 2. So I'm not again. I'm very even. I'm not bullish or bearish. I don't like what's happening with the pivot in the daily. Like, what I want to see is a bounce at the green, and then it starts working its way up and then gets back over the pivot. Sweet, awesome, that's perfect. Then we got our 1, 2. Okay. Look at this candle though. Look at all that volume into that area. So, you know, how does that map out? Not very well. But again, the breakdown is concerning if you're thinking upside here. But seeing that there's some support here is pretty key. But if it loses that support, gosh, I mean, the S1 is all the way down here at 0.005736. You know, that's quite a fall. I'm not sure what this is here. I should do that right here. Okay. I think that's actually the overall wave. Yeah, it is. Pardon me, everybody. Making little adjustments here. Okay, so here's an interesting thought here. If this was 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 done, okay, and this is actually a larger wave 2, which is fine. That 0.5 level is down to the S1, okay, which is a very large fall from here. But hey, if you're thinking like, where's my entry point? Well, that could very well be an entry. That would be an entry point. If we were just keep coming down, that would be where I'd be looking to enter. Would be that low, and that would be a nice spot. So we'll just keep these fibs up for now, and we'll keep up this support area here, and kind of see what happens. But right now, it's not a long or it's not a short. Not for me. This is let's see what happens here. I need more confidence in it. And confidence for me is above the pivot. Is a bounce at the green most likely? I say most likely because it might not get that low, but that is around the 50 level. And then back above the pivot, okay? That's what we want to see to be like, all right, now I'm getting confident and maybe even go long at that point because we're looking up here more, okay? And maybe a new higher from this year, a higher high. So that's the best I can do for RSR there. For hopefully it helps. There was also another one for MATIC, and you guys know that MATIC's been a big one for me. I love MATIC because we found a possible bottom. But again, we are seeing this. This is the 3-day. We are seeing this denial at the pivot, and we are looking at this possibly being an AAVE. Okay. Again, we might be seeing S1s, and I don't want to say that. I really don't. But gosh, is it below this? No, it's not. Is it going to be make a lower low? It wouldn't. So if this were to come all the way back to the S1, this still could be a 1-2. And if you're looking for like the ultimate, entry, why not at that area, right? I know it sucks, and if you're long here, you got a stop loss, so you're not losing money. But if it starts to break down here, here's something to look at. See that? So we had this compression wedge popped out of it, but what does it do? It gets denied on the daily pivot, right? And then there's this little, if this is another wedge here, and if we start breaking down, I mean, the S1 is, it's a possible target. I'll be honest, this is a possible target, but I need to see some more follow through. Right now, right now it could bounce here and keep going back up. It's fine, but I don't like the fact that this went 1, 2, 3, then 2, and then back up again to 3. I don't like that at all. So now this could be a flat, a big old large flat here. So this could be like a 1, A, B, C, 2, right? And then we got a 1, 2 again. So we really need to see what's going to happen soon. Like we need to see with MATIC, we need to see what's going on here at this level, at the 43, 42 cent level, okay? 43 cents, 43, actually it's 43.83 and then 44. If we break down below that, then we're going to see a new lower low, and who knows what that's going to be. Is it going to be the S1? I don't know. Will it go straight to it? I doubt it. But could it eventually get down there? Possibly. I mean, there's some support here if you look left that I can see right now, technically. Like this is all support, right? There's a nice little, yeah, there's some nice support here in this range. So it could also go there and bounce a little bit and ultimately make it to the S1. That's where trading gets frustrating, okay? But you know, it's it's hitting the pivot, okay, and it declined and now it's going down. So we just want to see what kind of reaction it gets in this area. And right now with that crazy large engulfing candle, that's just engulfing everything here. Um, you know, it's something good. And RSI is on the daily here. Stoch RSI is now curling down. RSI looks like it got declined at the EQ. Okay, so there's some, indicators are even showing us that this is across the board too for most alts. Okay, if I were to change remember I changed these candles last time? Look at the green and then boom, look at this red. All right, and I had it here, but this was on an uptrend. This is now on a downtrend, so we needed to kind of green up again and keep going up again, or this could just continue to keep coming down. Okay, because we got reds and then a green, but then this is a downtrend, so it's red, red, red. Now it's kind of like battling the red and greens in a range. So this is just ranging right now, but we want to find some support really soon. Okay, again, breaking down this green. So that's MATIC, okay? And again, I'm a bullish guy for MATIC. We're from way back here. But, right now, that S1 could be in the cards. S1's at basically 32 cents, 31.9. So that's gosh, if it gets down there, I mean, that's going to be a long opportunity for sure, especially if it happens this month. Maybe closer towards I mean, I don't know if it gets close to the end of the month. I don't know what's going to happen there. But if it really kind of rolls down here, mid to the mid-month, that S1 is going to be pretty strong. Should see that bounce. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself though. I'm still in this range here, and I don't want to say that it's going down this far, but I do want to bring this up. Okay. True is just another one. They're all kind of similar. The True here is, I will say that it had another compression wedge here in teal, and it popped out of it. But I'm going to say right now, this looks like an ABC. Okay. It looks like it's losing support here and wants to keep going down. And because this didn't finish off as a 5 up and it's breaking down, it's telling me that this is probably corrective on True. Okay. And True has been nice. It's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. It came down to the 618 levels. So that's a really big pullback already. But it would be fine if it came to the S1 because that's just a little bit at the 705 level. That's a nice supportive level. So it would just make a little bit of a lower low here, right? And then that would be a bounce area. So that could be the case on the 3-day. All right. But right now this now looks like an ABC for B. And this whole range here in green might actually be more of like a distribution. So we could have this more breakdown here. I did like this highlighted green support area it's below the S1. So that's interesting, but it's a nice support area. That's around the 4 cents, 0421 area. 044 area. The S1 is at 054, so like 5.5 cents for the S1. Okay, that's right. I'm True. If right now for me, I'm looking at it to get above the pivot if I want to see some more upside. But right now, I'm True and like these others, I'm not. At this point, if I'm going long or short, it's very quick. Okay, if they're longs, if I'm doing longs, they're probably on the 1 hour, 15-minute, maybe the 4 hour. That's it. Definitely not doing longs on the daily right now. Okay. Last was Adam, and this was, oh, man, Adam was looking like, I remember looking at Adam last night, and this was just like Pepe, where I was like, it was creeping over the pivot, but it was going into this resistance area in orange, and I was like, ooh, is this a short area to go short? And it didn't do it. So it was this and Pepe, because someone else requested Adam. I like Adam a lot. I've always liked Adam a lot. It's actually a nice little. What's this here? I've liked Adam a lot, and I've been bullish with him for a long time. We've done some trades down here, you know, with the 1-2. This is a 3. This is a larger 1-2 than 3-4. But what I don't like, if this thing keeps coming down, man, it's really gonna. I mean, I guess it would show us that this is more of like a leading diagonal. You know, this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't think this wedge is anything anymore. It was a nice looking wedge, but I will show you this though, that where it had bounced from was really nice, but losing this level is a little bit worrisome. See that? So if we break down that green, that's, you know, we better get back above that pretty quickly. But if this is just an A and this is a B and we have a C, we could have another pop pretty nice. Okay. But yeah, that's a strong macro level. Okay, that's green. That's at $6, $6.15. $6 and yeah, $6.16 range. That's a strong area there. Okay, we want to stay above that, or if we break down below, we better be popping back up pretty quickly. Did I say that right? $6. Yeah, $6. Okay. Yeah, this one's at $4.45. Anyway, that's all I got, guys. That's a long video. I'm going to chop it up and make it not as long, but I wanted to go over some of your requests in the video. And obviously, when I post it, I'll put it in the order that I said it, so that way you can kind of like maybe zoom through the video if you're just looking for a particular coin. So anyway, I hope you enjoy that. I hope this is helpful, and you know, just trade safe, be smart, look at the market in both directions if you can. You know, be patient. If you're looking for a long entry, just be very patient. Check your dailies, watch for that daily pivot. Okay, you want to see it get it back above that daily pivot. That's key right now. Okay, it could be like that for a little while. You know, we start losing bigger support areas, then we can really start looking at some more downside. So anyway, it does look like here. It does look like we'll say this on the daily on that atom that the volume is trying to crank up here, so that's kind of nice. So you know, maybe we can get a bounce off of that because volume was really dying off. So that's kind of interesting on the downside, right? So on this thing coming down, it's starting to really ramp up volume. So if we bounce, that would be sweet and get us back to that, you know, above that that pivot at $7.56. So anyway, hope you all take care and have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.